Teresia
Yes.
Wairimu is our guest for the next hour. She is the chairperson of the Mitumba Consortium Association of Kenya. She'll tell us all about it, but Teresia, to welcome you to the show.
Yes.
City has the day's proverb. Every week, City comes up with proverbs from one African country.
Okay.
And then he picks one proverb per day. This week, he's in the Republic of South Sudan.
Oh.
Listen to the proverb and then tell us how you interpret this proverb.
Today's proverb. Changing your mind is not being a liar.
Changing your mind is not being a liar.
Oh my God. Changing your mind is not being a liar. Wow. That's a very powerful proverb.
What do you think it says? What's your interpretation?
I think what it means is everybody has a right to change their mind. Everybody has a right to say otherwise from what he said yesterday. And that does not make them a liar. That makes them a person who is a thinking person. Yeah.
Why are you avoiding? Just say it makes them a truthful man. An honest man.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Introduce us to the Mitumba Consortium Association of Kenya.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you so much, CT.
Yes.
And
Do. God bless you so much for having me. Yes, my name is Apostle Teresia Wairimu Jenga. I'm the chairperson of Mitumba Consortium Association of Kenya. Basically, this is an association that deals with the people who are employed directly by the Mitumba trade, be it an importer, be it a retailer, be it yule beba wa kubeba mitumba, be it yule transporter wa kubeba mitumba, anybody who is directly and indirectly employed by the trade. These are the people that are under this umbrella. Yeah.
you know, we have used the word Mitumba for very many years.
Yes.
And it just becomes synonymous with dressing.
Yes.
Okay? That sometimes we are not really sure what we mean by Mitumba.
Yes.
Just so that we are not confusing anything here.
Yes.
What is Mitumba?
Mutumba is used clothes. But that does not mean Mutumba is only used clothes. Anything that is second hand, that means somebody has used it before, and now it's come back to the market for a second time or third time. That's what we call Mutumba. It means used.
Okay. Why is it such a big thing in Kenya?
Because the trade employs over 2 million people, directly and indirectly, and it supports over 20 million households. It generates a lot of income for the government. The government is collecting about 14 billion annually. That means a billion plus every month from the trade. And not also mentioning we pay licenses. That is the 1.4 billion is from import and customs. There is another money that we pay, what we call now the licenses, city council licenses, and many other things that are supposed to be paid when you have a shop.
So how do we know that this 14 billion shillings is actually captured by government?
Yeah, we know they have the statistics. If you go to the Kenya Bureau of Standards, they have the statistics. Every container that comes in through Mombasa, it is recorded. Annually, we are bringing about 8,000 containers of used clothes.
8,000 every year.
Yes.
Where do you source them from?
The Mitumba are sourced all over the world. America, Canada, China, Pakistan, Australia, UK, Europe, all over Europe. Yeah,
Okay.
Generally they come from all over.
There's been this thinking by many people that when you see Mitumba in Kenya, there's somebody who's just gone, into garbage pits in these countries and found, these guys have used their clothes, they've dumped them in a garbage
Yes.
pit, and then you just pick them up and put them up in containers and bring them to Kenya.
Yes.
How do the clothes enter into that container?
Yeah, basically in the Western world, they have a very good way of disposing their clothes. They give them to charity. And charity, because they have so many of them, They cannot be giving people clothes every day. So that's how used clothes became a business. They were given maybe to Salvation Army. There's another company called Savers. Once they are given to those people, there is nothing much they can do with them. Now, to turn that into money, to allow them to now give donations to the people who needs it, there are people who buys them. Now, people who are very professional in packaging them. That's why I keep on saying, Mitumba trade is a very professional business. There is a way we do it. There are professional people who have big factories, and now they categorize them and they package them, and now that's how they land in Kenya. Everybody, including all of us here, we have clothes in our wardrobe that we are not wearing. If we had a system of how now or companies that is collecting those clothes, I'm sure we'll be having so many people giving out their clothes. Everybody has a dress. Not that it's torn or it's old or it's bad, especially as sisters.
Apostle.
Yes.
Hapa, we have relatives. So
hand them down.
And many.
Tunateremsha chini.
Teremsha tu. In same principle.
It's the same.
Inaenda.
So we have a way of dealing with our used clothes.
Yes,
we do.
Yes.
Now what you're saying is that in the West,
Yes.
the way they deal with the used clothes is they donate them.
Yeah, they donate.
Charity.
Yes.
Knowing full well I am donating to charity.
Yes.
But then charity decides
Yes.
to commercialize it.
Yes.
Is that not wrong? Is that not
No.
breaking the trust?
You know why? There are too many of them. There are millions and millions of tons. There is not much they can do with them. Because they can give you.
Yeah.
Do you know they are very cheap? What makes Mitumba expensive is not the cost of buying them from the charity companies. It is the cost of packaging, the cost of labor. Labor is very expensive in the Western world. That's why we are lobbying. We are asking the Kenyan government to allow us to be sorting Mitumba here in Kenya locally. That will make them very cheap. Even it will help us in the money that we export to the West. We will minimize the money that we pay and use that money to pay for labor locally here.
The conversation usually for that is around protection of Kenya's industry or any industry, especially when it comes to textiles.
Yes.
Right? And that because we've heard all of the words that are used, dumping ground.
Yes.
We've talked about then belittling the nation's people. Why should you
unhygienic.
wear unhygienic?
Yes.
Why should you wear clothes that were or shoes or whatever that were worn by somebody else? After all, you don't see that there are clothes that are not being worn here that find their way on a ship that go to the Western world. Do you ever hear?
Yes.
That we package clothes here in Kenya, for example, or in Nigeria or South Africa, and then they're sold in America as Mitumba. We don't hear that. It's not a two-way kind of thing, is it?
Yes.
So the question here is, when we see those high taxes, when we see that those fees or licenses that are put, it is to discourage the act and hope that there will be local industries that then are thriving. That conversation is heavy in play.
Yes, that conversation has been there and we've been talking about it all through. But what I want to say today is Mitumba did not come to kill the local textile industry.
Okay.
Mitumba just came to complement it. The local textile is there. It was not killed by Mitumba. The local textile needs to be revived. We've had these discussions with the Ministry of Trade, the former Minister Betty Maina, the other minister that was there, and we are also continuing this conversation with the ministries. What needs to be done is the revival of textile in Kenya. Right now, I can tell you for sure, we do not have textile. We don't have cotton. The ginneries are not working. We need to revive from the ground up. Because today, if we say we want to use our local textile, that means we'll now start importing from India, from China, from the West.
The fabrics.
And the East. We'll start importing the fabrics. If we want to help ourselves, We need to be very competitive. Start from the ground, plant our cotton, revive our ginneries, and then take our children to the polytechnics, teach them how to make clothes. And that's how we will now make sure that we are producing cheaper clothes. And once we start producing, and we also have Mitumba, let the person who is buying decide what they want to buy. We'll make the Okoh textile will be cheap, the Mitumba will be cheap, they will compete. The common mwananchi will decide which one to take. And if Mitumba is to die, allow it to die naturally, but don't kill it. We are over 2 million people. Over 2 million people.
Directly.
And number two, when I was growing up, I used to see so many people with the patches. Yeah, with the patches.
Kiraka.
Kiraka.
Yes.
Unaona mtu anatembea uchi inaonekana. Mitumba has restored dignity to our people. To our people. Our people now are dignified. People are very smart. You will not even tell. Anybody who is wearing Mitumba here, even me, huwezi jua hii shirt ni ya wapi.
Very nice.
You see? Yeah.
Very nice.
So
you're
I'm dignified.
Apostle, hiyo ni camera.
Hii ni camera.
Okay.
Hii ni camera. You know.
Is Mitumba cheap, Teresia?
Yes, very cheap. As I said, Mitumba, even buying them from abroad, they are very cheap. The conversation here is, even when the government is trying to discourage importation of things, is because they want to retain money in Kenya. One of my biggest agenda is to allow or to show the government that the money we are importing, buying Mitumba, most of it is from labor. If they allow us to sort this Mitumba here locally,
Please explain the labor bit.
yes,
in
the labor
numbers.
bit.
All
Yeah,
right?
let's talk about
So Siti's cousin
yes,
is in America.
yes,
Or in America.
yes,
So he's not sending the clothes to Kenya to the relatives.
yes,
He donates to
Yes.
Salvation Army. Salvation Army then has all these clothes that they've collected.
Yes.
Now show me the labor. And by the time
yes, they have collected, and now this person who owns a factory comes and buy them. In fact, they buy them cents, maybe 40 cents or 50 cents per kilo.
per kilo.
Per kilo.
Wow.
From the Salvation Army. That's how cheap they buy. But now labor comes in when now these goods are taken to the warehouse. That warehouse is when now they do the sorting, the cleaning. They are making sure this bale is of shirts, another one is trouser, another one is children clothing, just sorting them and cleaning them up. That's the labor. 1 hour in those countries is over $10. Let's even assume it's $10, while we know Canada, America minimum wage is about $15 by the hour. So if somebody works in the warehouse for 8 hours, that's $80. That's $80. If that bale is 40 kg and it was being sold at 80 cents.
For
80 cents.
the whole thing.
When it was free.
no,
when it landed into
When
the
it
warehouse.
landed into the warehouse.
Okay.
Let's say it's 50 cents. 50 cents by 40 is how much? It's very little. But now if you include labor, 8 hours of labor, this person will go home with $80.
And that goes into the $2 that came in.
Yes.
So the whole thing from 50 cents becomes $82.
Yes, the whole thing will be very expensive because of that labor.
So,
Go ahead.
sorry. So if it came in at 50 cents,
Yes.
you're doing by 40 kg, so it's $20, right?
Yes.
For the whole bale.
Yes,
What you're saying now is that it costs you're going to pay this person $80
yes.
to have the thing cleaned, hygienically,
yes.
thorough cleaning, and then
Sorted.
While in Kenya
and sorted and packed.
and packed.
Right?
Yes.
So instantly, this thing becomes $100.
Yes. Yes. Becomes very expensive.
Okay.
But now, if we were to do the sorting here in Kenya, that means we'll do away with the $80 and we'll use $10
How much does it
per
cost?
day.
How much does it cost to get here?
It's about
Shipping.
$4,000 shipping.
But this is a whole.
For a
this is
container.
But now it's a
container,
whole
right?
40-foot container.
So
Which
how
has
much
how
is
many kilos?
Yeah, how much is applied to this 40 kilo? What is it called?
Or how many
40
bales?
foot
Let's
container.
do 550 bales.
In a container.
Yes.
one bale at 40 kg.
Yes.
One bale costing, so what is it?
$100.
Yes.
So 550, then divided by
4,000.
By 4,000.
That one you get now the cost of shipping per bale.
It's about.
So the issue here is that you want to circumvent the 80,
Yes.
the $80 for the labor.
Yes.
Why aren't you doing it?
Yeah, we are talking with the government. It's our proposal is on their table.
What do you mean? The government has told you cannot bring in. But you're bringing in
It
Mitumba.
is. Yeah, because of the obvious issue everybody keeps talking about,
Which one?
dumping. And I want to educate our people.
no.
We don't import to dump.
Hold on, Teresia.
Yes.
Mitumba
Yes.
today is arriving at the port of Mombasa in
Yes.
a container. It has been sorted.
Yes.
What is different with Mitumba arriving in the port of Mombasa in a
Not
container, not sorted?
You still have to sort it.
Are you saying that the government categorizes them different?
Yes. What happens if we were to do it today? That means these containers will come to the special economic zones. They will not be charged duties. They will only be charged port handling and such. But now when they come, what we do not allow the West people to sort them to the end. What we do is to allow them to clean them. They come as cleaned, but not sorted. Everything good, in good quality, it has to be grade A and B.
Okay.
Now when they come here, our job, which is major, is sorting. You know, you train people how to know this is a shirt, not a blouse.
Okay.
This is a lady's capri pant, not a man capri pant. That's what consumes labor.
That's the labor.
Yeah.
What difference would
No, please go on. Yes.
what difference would we have in price? Because look, if we are talking about, so the thing comes, it's $20. I'm still going back to those numbers.
Yes.
The person in wherever has sorted and washed and cleaned. It's now $100. Now with the numbers that you've given of $4,000 per 40-foot container for it to get from wherever, New York to Mombasa, $4,000 divided by 550 bales is about $7.50 for it to get here per bale. So you're coming to about $127 per bale plus transport. If it's at today's rate, it's just under 20,000 shillings, right, for a bale. What difference in shillings would we be looking at if that sorting was happening here?
At Dongo Kondu.
Can you imagine labor in a day? Somebody will charge $80
Yeah.
in America, but here it's just $10. 1,000 Kenya shillings.
And that person will be a very happy person.
Yes, and that person will be happy. We will create more employment for our youth. We will also increase. We are over 2 million. Every warehouse will not have less than 500 workers. 500 workers.
So we're looking about half the costs.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are looking at half the cost. Yeah.
Actually, it's less than half.
It's
Which
less
is
than
less,
half.
It's much less than half.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's much less than half.
Yes.
80% of this money is what you're paying to the sorter.
Yes. And now Kenya, Kenya is well situated. We will also become exporters. African nations, African countries who are also into Mitumba, they will start also importing from Kenya. We also become a hub for export. This is a big business, it's a big trade. And also when we bring them as raw materials, we also be able to export now even to Europe. There are things that are not sold in Kenya or in Africa, but they are sold in Europe. We start exporting to Europe. We also do what we call value addition. There are things that will come, we will add value, we will take them back to the fundis, add value, and then re-export them to Europe or to South America.
But also we'll be left with a lot of waste.
Now, that one, by the time they bring, we have something we call cleaning. Not sorting, but cleaning. Cleaning is making sure that we have 1 and 2.
So cleaning is grading.
Yes, grading. That one is very basic. You can even have very less people doing it because grading is checking just the quality. Imeraruka, iko safi, iko hivi, inapita. Very easy.
I mean, if you think of it, You're talking about the sorting. It means you have this bale with all these clothes. As she put it correctly, suruali inawekwa kando, blouse inawekwa kando, viatu inawekwa kando, handbag inawekwa kando. So suddenly you have an entire industry. You know, as we're talking, I was thinking of the tea industry, which I have some knowledge of. And I was looking at, somebody grows the tea.
Yeah.
And one of the complaints they've had, most are now in the coffee sector, they grow this thing and somehow they don't seem to benefit from it. But yet, the coffee trade is a lucrative trade. You see? And the reason is because of what she just said, value add. Now, if you remove the value add from the West
America.
and bring it
Yes.
here, our value add is cheaper than theirs. So we end up with the same quality, but at a lower cost. It makes perfect sense to me. I'm thinking of just the employment. And I went even further and I was thinking, imagine in this free trade zone area that we're thinking of and we keep talking about. Imagine all these things people go to Dubai for. What if you told them, come and do the same thing here? We're in Africa and we're a hub. And
Yeah, I'm looking and I'm waiting for a day the government will open their eyes. This is our London, New York. In Africa, Nairobi is New York to some countries. We are well situated. We have our port. Our people are very hardworking. This is a place where we would be exporting. These things will be exporting from here. We do value addition, send them back to Europe, send them back to South America. And then the others who will be buying from Africa, other nations of Africa, we also become exporters of used clothes. And also we minimize on what we export, the amount of money that we export to the West.
Well, this thing is actually not expensive. It's the labor that's
Yes.
expensive.
Yes.
And the source of these clothes is basically second-hand clothes or used clothes
Yes.
from these European markets
Yes.
that ends up in our market.
Yes.
Concern number 1, number 2, number 3, up to number 100 is number 1. This is dumping. Number 2, the hygienic state of these clothes that we wear. People start saying, no wonder we see these diseases in these countries because it's been brought by Mitumba.
Yes.
In fact, at the height of COVID-19, one of the bans that is imposed by the government was on Mitumba.
Yes.
Msituletee COVID na hii Mitumba yenu.
Yes, I was there.
So how do you address this? How do you address this public concern?
Yeah, one thing people should know and understand is that the government has already developed protocols to govern the importation of Mitumba. They have their appointed agencies that make sure that once a container is packaged, it has already conformed. There is the certificate of health, there is the conformity, there is a whole process. There is the clean clothes, the fumigation. You see, if you have interacted with Mitumba, there is a certain smell that you hear from Mitumba. Hiyo harufu ni ya fumigation. Hiyo harufu unasikia Mitumba ikinuka ni dawa ya fumigation. They have to be fumigated.
Fumigation from insects or from disease?
From
everything?
anything.
Okay.
Anything that can be carried by clothes. And then there is also the certificate of public health. That certificate of public health is for that region to make sure that there was no outbreak in that region.
Of diseases.
Of any disease.
Right.
That's how we get now the certificate of public health. Yes. So by the time they get here.
Where is this done? Is it done at country of source or is it done
No,
when
country
they land
of source. They have their
So this
agencies.
is PVOC,
Yes.
pre-verification.
Yes. They do it from the source. And the people that do it are people appointed by the Kenyan government to do this. Like we have SGS, we have Bureau Veritas, we have Cotecna. All these bureaus, they are appointed
These are
agencies.
international standardization
Yes,
countries.
yes. They are appointed by the government to do that.
And these are protocols that are set by government here
Yes.
to
And
make sure that all these things that we are saying
Yes.
in terms of sanitation, in terms
Yes.
of hygiene and all have been sorted.
Yes.
And public health have been sorted.
Yes.
Okay. Is there one that looks at quality and not
Yes.
to avoid dumping?
Yes. Number one is quality. Quality has to be A and B. We cannot bring in a C or D.
Apostle, just explain.
Quality number one
What
and
is
number
A,
two.
what is B,
Eh.
what is C, what is D?
No, we don't do C or D. What we do is A and B. That means it's something that can be worn, something that is clean. It is not torn. It is in good shape. That's what we import. And I want you to I want to remind everybody this. We are paying a whopping $18,000 for one 40-foot container in terms of duty and taxes.
Oh, wait.
A whole $18,000.
On import duty
Yes.
and customs.
Yes. That's what we are paying. So you will not pay that much money only to carry dumping.
You have to bring in quality that you can
have
resell.
to. You don't need anybody to anybody to check for you the quality. You check it yourself. You make sure that what you are buying is of good quality, something you will sell in the market. Even by the time the person who is appointed to do it, they come, you have already yourself done your part, because you are paying a lot of money. By the time this container gets here, you have paid about $22,000, inclusive of shipping.
What?
Yes.
$22,000.
Yes.
For the whole container.
Yes. 40-foot
One
container.
container.
No, it's too much.
It's about 3
In
million.
fact, right
3
now,
million. Even if you were to divide it per bale, because at
Yes.
the end of the day, not all the bales are going to one.
it's almost
business.
5,000.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yes.
ask you. So what's it
before
comes to?
purchase price
Yeah.
is 5,000 Kenya shillings.
Wow.
Before
Okay.
purchase price.
When the clothes get here,
Eh.
they're again sorted. That's why we talk about camera and all.
No, now that's now when somebody buys one bale, that's now how they sell. That's the grading of, we can call it pricing.
Okay.
Because somebody who buys
So
buys
It's done
expensive.
at source.
No, here.
We do it here.
No, he's talking about here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we sort them again. That's why he's mentioning
So
camera.
this is not for price.
Yeah.
No, camera is.
Yeah, camera is basically pricing. You want to sell the very fast ones at a higher price. There is now second. We call them camera and then second. Somebody buys the best. Somebody buys now second best. And it drops and drops and drops until it gets now to...
Do you sell
3
everything?
for
Eh?
2 shillings, yeah.
Is everything that's imported sold?
Yeah. That's why you go to Wangige market. You hear somebody shouting
Kumi,
20 bob,
kumi,
20
kumi,
bob,
kumi, kumi,
and 10. Yes.
So hiyo imetoka Kikomba ikafika Wangige.
Yeah.
The camera number
Yes.
2, like that, it drops
Yes.
until these 10 bob ones.
Yes. Somebody comes to
none
the
of them is
market.
torn.
Yes. Somebody comes to the market, and now they count all the remaining ones. They buy maybe 5 shillings. And they count all of them. They take them to the market, maybe Wangige, for example. That's where you you hear them saying 20 bob, 20 bob. Na wakimaliza kupata yao 10 bob, wakimaliza 5 bob. So everybody is dressed. Everybody is dressed. Yes.
Teresia,
Yes.
there are people who say that now later you will go to Wangige market and other places and you'll find clothes that have been dumped.
Yeah, that's what I want to say this. Every market, they have their own way of preserving their own hygiene. There is no mountain of clothes being dumped. I have not seen. Because even the person who is selling 5, he will not throw away, because he will again go back to the market and buy it 5 shillings. So he will continue putting them together because they are not torn. That's why we say, I have stock. Why do I have stock? I have stock because I have been piling. I have stock.
And usually the person who is buying knows his market or her market.
Yes.
They know exactly who their buyers are.
Yes.
And if you understand the Kenyan market, there'll be people who will probably pre-order and say, I would like this and this and this and this.
Yes.
Then there's that category of person who then goes to sell clothes in offices. And those
Yes.
ones usually, they have an order.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's the same Mitumba.
Yes.
It's the same.
but they have an order. They know I want this and this and this. Then there's yet another market of people who actually have shops.
Yeah.
And they sell mitumba.
Yes.
And they tell you
Tunazitanga exhibitions.
Yes, Zico.
Yes. So that value chain in terms of the employment capacity of the industry.
You can see the 2 million.
Yes, exactly. It's extensive. It's very, very extensive. And it looks like it caters for every cadre of Kenyan.
Everywhere. The biggest market is Gikomba. Then the next biggest is Kisumu, Kebuye. Then we have so many other markets that are still supplying mitumba.
What is the government's attitude towards mitumba?
I think there is a lot of ignorance when it comes to mitumba. There is a lot of ignorance. That's why you hear utterances that are funny. While we have 2 million people depending on this trade. The government is talking about creating jobs opportunities. Mitumba has already created 2 million jobs and still growing. If we go back to the ground, we may discover we are more than 2 million because it's a growing trade. It's a trade you can begin with as little as 1,000. Myself, I started at 3,000. I had 3K.
3,000 shillings.
Yes, 3,000 shillings. Hiyo ndio nilinunua nayo socks. Socks unafagia, unahesabiwa na shilingi moja na sumuni 150. And then I had so many of them.
1 shilling and 50 cents.
Yes.
For a pair of socks.
Yes. For a pair of socks. Then I took them to Roiro. That's where I started. And I was selling them at 10 shillings the first day and the second day. Once I recovered my money, I dropped to 5 shillings. And from there, if I didn't have money, I would take my socks, take them to the road. Okota napata chakula. Stock ndio nimesema haitupwi. You keep it for a rainy day.
Apostle, that story right there is what you call a beautiful success story.
Yeah.
Yes. You are living the talk, meaning this is not an industry you read about. No. You have been an integral part of this particular industry, so you know.
Yes, from
Now
chini
you're an
kabisa.
importer.
Yes.
How many importers do we have? They talk about cartels in the import.
Yeah, that's what they want to call us. But we are over 500 and we are creating 1 billion per month. We are not cartels, we are business people contributing to the GDP. The budget for judiciary is about 1 billion
a month.
And that's what we contribute.
So you can just say you are sustaining our judiciary.
Yes.
Sustaining the judiciary.
Yes.
This Mitumba sector.
In more ways than one.
In more ways than one. The negative publicity is not just local.
Yeah.
It's even international.
Yeah,
where we've seen several groups coming up to say, our countries in the West have turned Africa into dumping ground.
Yes.
We dump everything, including even our underwear. Now we are dumping our underwear in Africa. And that is also having an impact in terms of...
Well, I want to say this. The world is not now talking about manufacturing in order to preserve our
it's called our ecosystem.
Environment.
Yes, our environment.
Yes.
For us to protect our environment, we don't need to manufacture every day and every time. We need now to start talking about reuse and recycle. That is where the world is heading to. For us to protect our environment and climate, we need now to start talking about reuse and recycle. That is the way to go. Even in America, there are streets, they are selling used clothes. The Western has already embraced that. So whoever is publicizing that is dumping when it comes to Africa is just trying to tarnish the name of Africa. They want to tarnish us.
Okay.
It's like we are beggars or we are bad people. If you go to America, they have shops. These shops, we call them thrift stores.
Yeah.
And they are buying, they are selling there.
It's Mitumba.
So it's okay for them to buy from there, not okay for Africans to buy. Because we have thrift store and they are doing very well and they are very big. They are very big. These are used clothes, not new clothes. And they are doing very well. In fact, even if you look at London, now they are talking about the reuse, not manufacturing.
It is very true.
Yeah.
And at every level, you even have high-end shops
Yes.
that deal not just with reuse,
Yes.
they even have a factor for exchanging. Meaning,
Yes.
you have clothes that you've bought, maybe you didn't use or you used once, and you want something else, you go with those clothes.
Yeah.
And you look at what they have. So you're right.
Yeah, talk about
Like
cracks.
Mari. Mari.
Yeah, talk about cracks. Cracks, you have an old shoe of crack. You take it back, and now you carry another new shoe. That's what you do. And the old shoe, they will take it to these European countries. Go to Poland. That's where they sell them. After they have been used, they sell them there.
Should you then actually, because you've introduced the clerk example, is an example of extended producer responsibility.
Yes.
And we also have that in Kenya, extended producer. So somebody started with the plastics. You are packaging water and you're selling water in plastic bottles. How do you make sure that plastic does not end up in a dump somewhere?
Yes.
So the water company has a responsibility to make sure that those plastics are then collected and reused, recycled. Should the Mitumba industry in Kenya then get into that with the big clothes manufacturers and the big brands, where it's part of their extended producer responsibility, to make sure that you are reusing them by bringing them to Kenya, and then you then will have the issue of then collecting them and seeing how they can be recycled.
Yeah, it's a dialogue we are having. It's a dialogue we are having. We are looking into reviving these greeneries. Even as Mitumba traders, we want to work with the government to make sure that cotton industry or textile industry is revived. And once we revive, then we can start talking about reuse, recycle, and also manufacturing.
Is it possible? I mean, just what looking at, because look, we can't run away from the fact that while there is this concern about the hygiene and the whole dumping in terms of policy on a global scale, the truth of the matter is that we would not have 2 million
Employed
directly
directly.
if people were not buying these items, whether they were shoes, bags, clothes. That there is purchase. That's
There's a market.
There's a market.
And it's a growing market.
Isn't it? I would assume that the many markets that we see around the country, Gikomba, Kibuye, what did you say is the biggest? Kisumu is Kibuye?
Yes.
Kibuye, yes.
Toy market, all of these markets that we see, and in different parts of the country, they wouldn't be there if there were not people who were purchasing them. That I understand. There's been the cry that in some of these cases, a lot of these clothes are sold at very high prices, almost equal to what you would buy brand new from the store.
But don't you think
that?
that's a decision for the buyer? If you think this Mitumba is very expensive compared to the new clothes, then you have an option to buy a new clothes. And that's what we are saying. If we can produce clothes, new clothes that are cheaper, almost like Mitumba, then we give a Kenyan an
Choice.
authority now or a choice to choose where to buy.
Where to buy from.
Yes. Yes.
But here we are seeing that because there is no option of that kind of quality at that price, that people are going to go for the Mitumba option because that is what is available. Quality, price, then here matters.
Yes. And that's why it's expensive, because it's called camera. That's number one. And sometimes camera can change hands to 3 people. Somebody who buys camera, they may buy a shirt at 200 shillings or 300 shillings. Then somebody is there waiting. Now he comes to the camera person has 10 pieces.
10 shirts.
But because he's very sharp, he will only select 2. 2 of the best from the camera person. He will buy them at 600. He will maybe give him 300. And then he buys them 600 bob each. Now he cleans it and bring irons and brings it now to a sophisticated shop. That's where now you find somebody selling at 1,000. 1,000. Yeah, and
that
then
thing started at 300, at 100 bob.
Yes.
Yes. You see, you are seeing the journey of value add.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see?
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
It's a thriving industry.
Yes, it is.
2 million people directly employed.
Yes.
And the contribution to tax of 14
Eric,
billion
the
a year.
fascinating thing is the versatility of the business thinking in this industry. Where it starts and how it lands in Kenya with whatever difficulties we have, and how those difficulties are overcome, and the value add that it came with, we enhance it by giving it our own value add. And meeting the various pockets and the diversity of interest that we have. Now that is worth a study.
Are you engaging right now with the Ministry of Trade?
Yes.
And what kind of conversations are you having?
Right now we have a new minister, a new CS that's there. We have not yet met her, but we have few documents we have submitted there. We are hoping that she will give us audience. She will listen to us. Before, and let me say this, before, people who have been in that office have been biased. They have been talking too much with the manufacturers to a point of wanting us to become employees of the manufacturers. And we want to tell them we are independent, our trade is independent. If you want us, call us to the table. We will have a sober conversation. Mitumba trade employs over 2 million people. It dignifies the lives of not only the person wearing, but also the business owner.
Yeah.
It has dignified lives. It has dignified lives.
Teresia,
Has contributed immensely to the nation of Kenya.
thank you for joining us. Apostle Teresia Wairimu is the chairperson of the Mitumba Consortium Association of Kenya. She's been our guest. You've heard her, people.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.